today we're going to work on the air brakes, and what I want to show is on this side I have already changed the air brakes. So I'm using a JP retract motor, specifically you can see right there, specifically a JP ER120 retract, and that is driving the air brake on that side. The other side, you can see I still have the airline tubing coming out, and it's still attached to the old system. So we're going to go through this and show how I'm making the mods here. I just wanted to have almost no air on this jet, or rather remove it as much as possible. So this is the beginning steps for that. I just pulled out the air brake assembly, and there you see it. It's pretty easily attached with 3 screws that basically sit in the 3 holes there, and that comes out real nice. In my case, this was epoxied, so I'm just going to rotate this gently. I pulled out the airline. There was a green airline, and that way I can just rotate this out. And once it's completely out of the fiberglass piece right here, we can just pull it out, but we'll need to align the top with that so that it can be pulled out. So there we go. So now it's completely loose, and just aligned bottom. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. So you can see that alignment there. Just gently pulling that out, and out she goes. So that's what the cylinder looks like, and it came out pretty clean actually. So we're going to clean up the hole here and get ready to install the landing gear motor. I covered all of the painted surface in tape, just so that as I'm working on this I don't happen to scratch any of the paint. So yep, there we go. Now on to the work. So first challenge, we disassembled the air brake. So you can see that this used to be attached to that point, and there was this pin, so we took out that pin, and that way we have access to the internal sort of the air brake. And now the motor that we're trying to use is this guy, which is I think it's an ER120 motor, but it's about the size, but it's just a little too stiff. So I made out a sanding block, and I'm just going to widen this hole a little bit. So there's 2, so the front one here and the one in the back. We're just going to sand that until it's nice and open, and we can fit this motor right through there. That was not much sanding at all required, and now we can see that that fits in perfectly. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to widen up this hole here, because I don't want to use the threads in the fiberglass, because when the air brake reaches the maximum open point like that, because we're going to use a gear controller, you can see that right there, those work by detecting the current surge when the motor is jammed. And so if we don't use a nice strong material for the screw here, it'll just strip that. So I have a 1/8 inch drill bit, and I'm going to run that in through here, and you can see that we've expanded that hole. So it's just a little bit bigger than an M3 screw. So the M3 screw, which is basically this guy right here, is going to be able to go through that no problem. What I'm going to do now is, the pin that goes in the retract is round, so what I want to do is flatten one side, the side that's going to go onto the air brake mount. So I'm just going to grind that down as level as possible, and hope for the best. Excellent. So just a little bit of flattening on the back there, so that it can sit flush up against the air brake surface. So here's what I'm going for. that flat end that we added, that's going to go in here, and sort of what I'm aiming for is to be able to secure this right to that piece right there. And you can see why we had to extend the hole, and that way when the motor drives, it's going to pull, if this is secured to this, it's going to pull this whole mechanism in and out. So that's what we're going to go for. We're going to flatten this a little bit here so we can make room for that, and then I'm going to do some grooves on the side. So a groove on this side right here and right here, and use a wire wrap to secure this metal piece to the fiberglass, because epoxying or anything like that is just not strong enough. I don't have enough surface area to bond this piece of metal to the fiberglass. So right here I've marked with the Sharpie where I'm going to try to put a groove all around the metal piece here, and with that I'll be able to secure it. And we can see that those edges line up with the edges of this fiberglass piece because I want it to be cinched there pretty good. Okay, so I just used my Dremel tool and my disc here. Obviously I can't show this on camera, it's really challenging, but you can see the groove that I made there in the in this metal piece. So it goes all around right there, except for the back area, because this is the area that's going to be attached to the air brake fiberglass piece. So we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side, and it's just taped here so that as I Dremel it, it doesn't rotate. So now we have grooves on both sides, and I'm gonna wire wrap that to the air brake, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see what I did here is I basically wired one side through the groove right there, other side through the groove, and then just tie wrap them right above where the screw goes. I'm gonna paint that white so it'll disappear pretty easy. And now this is attached to that piece of the air brake, and it should allow this whole thing to move in and out. We've set our depth, and basically how I figured this out is by running the screw all the way back in, and this will close, and then I move the motor in and out, and that's the position that it likes to sit. And so now with that, this mod is pretty much done. So we're just gonna test it real quick. I have my power supply here set to 8 volts, and we're just gonna go the other way. So you can see that that closes the air brake pretty well. So here, let's do that again. And you can see that once it gets to the end and it closes, it just binds the motor and it stops right there. And then the other way, same thing happens. We just open the air brake, and when it gets to the end, binds, stops, just like it would on retracts. And so that's the mod. I'm pretty happy about this. Last thing to do, or I already did this though, was to secure the motor in place. You have these screws here, so you have one on this side right there, and you have the other one on this side. And I don't know if this is going to show up in camera, probably not, but that screw and that screw actually bite onto the motor housing, and that's how you secure it in place. In my case, I just added a lick of CA around this to keep that motor in place, but that's done. And so with this, we've replaced the pneumatic cylinders, but if I wanted to go back to this, it would work well, since I would just undo that wire wrap, and then this guy would slide right in, and then business as usual. But I like this setup, and that's what we're gonna go with. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick test of the air brake electric system and see how it works. By the way, I just touched up with white paint, and you can see how the wires disappear. So let's see if this works as well as we expect. Looks good there. And then the other way around. There it goes. So I think I might have to clear just a little bit of material in here It's probably what was binding on that air brake, but I'm pretty happy with that result. So here's the final setup for the air brakes. So we made these guys run on electric motors, same ones we use for gear, and then we have a JP gear controller here, and the wires have been neatly tucked on the side, just hot glue to have them stay. And then we have this one connection that we're going to run forward to the receiver. So that's that for the air brake.